Although the expression temporality does not mean what the talk about space and time understands by time, spatiality nevertheless seems to constitute another fundamental determination Grundbestimmtheit of Dasein corresponding to temporality. The existential and temporal analysis thus appears to reach a limit with the spatiality of Dasein, so that this being that we call Dasein must be addressed coordinately as temporal and also as spatial. Does the existential and temporal analysis of Dasein come to a halt on account of the phenomenon that we got to know as the spatiality of Dasein, and that we showed to belong to being in the world? 24. If in the course of our existential interpretation we were to talk about the spatio-temporal determination of Dasein, then we could not mean that this being is present in space and also in time. This needs no further discussion. Temporality is the meaning of being of care. The constitution of Dasein and its modes of being are ontologically possible only on the basis of temporality, regardless of whether this being occurs in time or not. But then the specific spatiality of Dasein must be grounded in temporality. On the other hand, the demonstration that this spatiality is existentially possible only through temporality cannot aim either at deducing space from time or at dissolving it into mere time. If the spatiality of Dasein is embraced by temporality in the sense of an existential foundation, this connection, which is to be clarified in what follows, is also different from the priority of time over space in Kant's sense. That the empirical representations of what is objectively present in space occur as psychical events in time, so that the physical also occurs indirectly in time, is not to give an existential and ontological interpretation of space as a form of sensibility, but rather to ascertain ontically that what is psychically present runs its course in time. We shall ask existentially and analytically about the temporal conditions of the possibility of the spatiality of Dasein, the spatiality that in turn found the discovery of space within the world. Before that, we must remember in what way Dasein is spatial. Dasein can be spatial only as care, in the sense of factically entangled existing. Negatively, this means that Dasein is never objectively present in space, not even initially. Dasein does not fill out a piece of space as a real thing or useful thing would do, so that the boundaries dividing it from the surrounding space would themselves just define that space spatially. In the literal sense, Dasein takes space in. It is by no means merely objectively present in the piece of space that its corporeal body Leibkörper fills out. Existing, it has always already made room for a leeway Spielraum. It determines its own location in such a way that it comes back from the space made room for to a place that it has taken over. To be able to say that Dasein is present at a position in space, we have to conceive this being beforehand in an ontologically inappropriate way. Nor does the difference between the spatiality of an extended thing and that of Dasein lie in the fact that Dasein knows about space. Making room is so far from identical with the representation of something spatial that the latter presupposes the former. Nor may the spatiality of Dasein be interpreted as a kind of imperfection that adheres to existence on account of the fatal connection of the spirit with a body. Rather, because Dasein is spiritual, and only because it is spiritual can it be spatial in a way that essentially remains impossible for an extended corporeal thing. The making room of Dasein is constituted by directionality and de-distancing. How is something like this existentially possible on the basis of the temporality of Dasein? The foundational function of temporality for the spatiality of Dasein is to be indicated briefly only to the extent that it is necessary for later discussions of the ontological meaning of the coupling of space and time. The directional discovery of something like a region belongs to the making room of Dasein. With this expression, we mean initially the where-to of the possible, belonging somewhere of useful things at hand in the surrounding world. Whenever one comes across useful things, handles them, moves them around or out of the way, a region has already been discovered. Being in the world that takes care is directing itself. Belonging somewhere has an essential relation to relevance. It is always factically determined, in terms of the context of relevance of the useful things taken care of. The relevant relations are intelligible only in the horizon of a disclosed world. Their horizontal nature also first makes possible the specific horizon of the where-to of regional belonging. The self-directive discovering of a region is grounded in an ecstatically retentive awaiting of the possible hither and whither. As a directed awaiting of region, making room is equiprimordially a bringing near nahern, or de-distancing of things at hand and objectively present. De-distancing Taking care comes back out of the previously discovered region for what is nearest next. Bringing near and the estimating and measurement of distances within what is present within the distanced world are grounded in a making present that belongs to the unity of temporality in which directionality is possible, too. Because Dasein as temporality is ecstatic and horizontal in its being, it can factically and constantly take a long space for which it has made room. With regard to this space ecstatically made room for, the here of its actual factical location or situation never signifies a position in space, but the leeway of the range of the totality of useful things taken care of nearby a leeway that has been opened in directionality and de-distancing. In bringing close Naherung that makes possible the handling and being occupied that is absorbed in the matter, the essential structure of care falling prey makes itself known. Its existential and temporal constitution is distinguished by the fact that in falling prey, and thus also in the bringing near which is founded in making present, the forgetting that awaits pursues the present. In the making present that brings something near from its wherefrom, making present loses itself in itself, and forgets the over there. For this reason, if the observation of inner-worldly being starts in such a making present, the illusion arises that, initially, only a thing is present here indeed, but indeterminately in a space in general. Only on the basis of ecstatic and horizontal temporality is it possible for Dasein to break into space. The world is not objectively present in space, however, only within a world can space be discovered. The ecstatic temporality of the spatiality of Dasein makes the independence of space upon time comprehensible. But on the other hand, this same temporality also makes intelligible the dependency of Dasein upon space, a dependency that makes itself manifest in the familiar phenomenon that both the self-interpretation of Dasein and the stock of meaning so pervasive in language in general are thoroughly dominated by spatial representation. This priority of the spatial in the articulation of significations and concepts has its ground, not in some specific power of space, but rather in the kind of being of Dasein. Essentially entangled, temporality loses itself in making present, and understands itself not only circumspectly in terms of the things at hand taken care of, rather, it takes its guidelines for articulating what is understood, and can be interpreted in understanding in general from those spatial relations that making present constantly meets up with in what is at hand as present.